Hello and welcome to tutorial 216. In this tutorial I had a question as to how to create a show me study that showed the volume of the current bar in the right hand box, the bar before that in the next box, and so on for the next 5 bars. And as you can see, the up to date, the most recent bar is updating as the bar develops. So let's have a look at the program. And first thing we need to do is, when the program is first applied to the chart, in a once statement we're going to be creating a charting host, and we're going to be creating 2 events for the charting host. One is initial update, and the other one is on size. So in other words, if we go back to the chart and we decide, for example, drag the chart, you'll see that the size of the boxes adjusts. Now if you're unfamiliar with how to set up the charting host, what you can do is go to Toolbox, double click on the charting host. Well, in fact, let's just do that. And then, having selected that, if you go to this events icon here, and then you can double click on the events that you want an event to take place. So we've done on initial update, and we've also done one on size. So by clicking those, you'll see the syntax, but we don't need to do that right now. So just going to delete that. And we've also created a couple of vectors, one TextVect and one BoxVect. These we're going to use to store the text objects and the rectangle objects as we create them. Then the next thing we do is create the initial text objects and rectangles. Now we don't have any specific place to put these, we just put them in a random place, but what we have done is set some of the attributes of the item. So for example, text object, we needed to make it persist. We've used we're setting the font, and we're using actually a user input for the font name, font size. Color, again, it's a user input, and we've set the H style, V style, and then we've added that to the chart. And we're doing this for 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 5 text objects, and at the same time we're also drawing a rectangle. Now we're using the method DrawRectangle, which I've created, and again we're just putting these in a random place. We're also setting the color, so the color depends whether the counter value is 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4. Then we're adding that to the chart. So this means that once those have been created, even if we change the size of the chart, we will not need to recreate those. So the next thing is, well, let's just have a quick look at the DrawRectangle method, which just makes things a little simpler, and it's just using the rectangle dot create. And in this case, you'll notice that we're using XYPoints. And the advantage of the XYPoint is that even as we get more bars and so on, the position of the XYPoint doesn't change. So that will stay static in one place on the chart. Anyway, this is the method to draw that and to add it to the chart and to return that value, which we then store in the vector. What we then got are the two events, both similar, or in fact exactly the same syntax. And what we do is, every time one of these events is fired, we go through the counter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and what we do is we change the, for example, the position of the text. We calculate where it's supposed to be at the current time, and that depends on the width of the window. We know that through args.width, and by calculating where we want it to be, you can position it so that you've got those 5 different positions for the text. And then so we're creating the XYPoint using this calculation based on args.width, which is the current width of the window. Then we're setting the point value of the text label to that value. And then we're doing something similar with the rectangle, but we're doing set start point and set end point. And again, we're calculating the XY point. In this case, we're doing it within the within the input to the set start point, and those values ensure that we get the 5 different rectangles equally spaced, and they've already been given the color that we needed. Incidentally, the colors are set to be user inputs, so color 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, using the color objects. You can see that they're in quotes. The text color, we can also set the color. I've set that to ivory. Font name, in this case Arial. Font size, and then height percentage. Now what this does is works out how thick the lines are going to be. So for example, if you had a far smaller chart, you might wish to reduce that value, play around with that to make sure that the rectangles are the size that you want. We've got namespaces, as you can see, which I've included some comments as to what they do. And then the final thing we've got is that we're updating the volume values on each tick. So the volume value we get from the ticks keyword, and bear in mind, ticks, the keyword ticks varies in its meaning depending on what sort of chart and what the setting is in for the show me study. So you might want to just read up on that. If you right click on ticks, say definition, and then go here, click on EasyLanguage reserved words related to ticks volume, etc., and then you can see what the various different meanings are. So ticks is total volume for charting stock symbols intraday. However, if you set the tick count, that's only if trade volume is selected. If tick count is selected, then it becomes the total number of ticks. So the up-to-date value of volume is calculated each time, and then the text string is set to that value, or rather the number is converted to a string, and then the text string is set to that value. And you can see if you look at the chart, that being updated as the bar develops. Anyway, hopefully you might find this useful. If you want to type it in, you're very welcome to do that. Otherwise, I will make it available on markplex.com. And as always, also please consider joining Gold Pass. Thank you very much.